And in the wake of renewed attacks with resurgence of Boko Haram in Yobe and Sokoto, markets have been shut this morning. Now, the challenge is with the approach of the current government to tackling these issues. Joining us on the program this morning is a security expert in Dr. Steve Okowri. Dr. Steve, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure. It's sad news to see these developments regaining front focus in Nigeria. Yobe and Sokoto, the latest to be hit by resurgence of Boko Haram bandits. As much as we hear this morning, the death toll has been confirmed to 15. Normalcy in business has been truncated in Yobe particularly. Some of the major markets are all but shadows of themselves. What do you make of this development?
Well, you see, let me say that Emily Duncan is a French sociologist. He said a society without crime is abnormal, is impossible. And I think that notice is enough for us as a country, as security agencies to be able to put ourselves on alert that we should be prepared. There's this motto of Boy Scout. I don't know if you know the motto of Boy Scout, be prepared. How prepared are we as a government, as the security agencies, when these issues bordering on insecurity confront us? We should be prepared to be able to address or tackle it head on, right? And the crime triangle talks about the desire or ability on one end, the reward on another end, then opportunity on the other side of the angle, right? That opportunity, what is it that we are doing as a country, as security agencies, to see that criminals that have the desire, that have the ability, they have the weapons, they have the ammunition to commit these acts of criminality, right? What do we do? What do we need to do to see that they don't have the opportunity to strike? Because if they strike, either by collecting ransom or killing people or shedding blood and all that, they have achieved their reward, right? So in the crime triangle, the desire, ability, the opportunity, the reward. What the government and security agencies needs to do is that opportunity, they shouldn't have that opportunity to be able to attack innocent Nigerians that are going about their local businesses. So we need to see that there's concerted effort in seeing that opportunity is not there, right? And that is why I always talk about we being proactive rather than being reactive all the time, right? So crime is in existence. We have different security agencies that are already saddled with the responsibility to see how to address these issues, right? Without crime, they wouldn't have been hired. They wouldn't have been police. If we didn't have crime in the society, they won't be police. They won't be army. They won't be Air Force. They won't be Navy. They won't be the other security agencies. And the reasons why we have these security agencies is because there's crime is in existence. And that is why they've been established. So they have the constitutional responsibility and the mandate to be able to say how to address these issues.
Now, you've rightly said it. We need to be proactive. But when we look at the roles and responsibilities, take for instance the Nigerian Army.
Yes.
The responsibilities with the territorial integrity.
Absolutely.
Which serves as the first point of entry, because most times these issues are discussed. You hear that these insurgents are imported. They're not from Nigeria.
Yeah.
They're crossing through our borders. How do we start being proactive in terms of our border security and control?
A whole lot needs to be done. How well are we even addressing it by harnessing the benefits of technology, right? We know that there's a lot that technology does now, right? There are some technology that can be in place when an intruder crosses certain point or location, it triggers, So we need to see that we harness or use the technology to the fullest, right? There are technologies out there. Other countries are succeeding in the use of technology. So why are we not using technology? I know that we don't have enough manpower, right? Very recently, you saw that about 197 troops were deployed to Gambia,
For peacekeeping.
Last year, they went to Guinea, they went to South Sudan and all that. We send our troops out of the country to other countries, right? And they succeed in whatever country or wherever they've gone or been to. So why are we not succeeding in addressing these issues in our own country, right? A whole lot needs to be done. How well are these soldiers? How well are they motivated, right? As I speak to you, the daily cash allowance for a soldier that is in the front line is 1,500 naira. Not until this current chief of army staff came and increased it to 3,000. What is 3,000 naira compared to a current situation, right? So a whole lot is not adding up. And I think that there is need for us as a country, as security agencies, to see how to go back to the drawing board. There's a lot that we need to do. In the manifesto of the current president, he talked about border control. He talked about national forest guards. He said a whole lot in his manifesto, right? So how well is he looking at the manifesto in addressing the security issues that we are talking about in the country, right? We have soldiers, their salary is about 59,000 naira per month, right? And just find your way and go to the Kaduna Reference Hospital, 44 Reference Hospital in Kaduna, and see soldiers, either legs or hands amputated. They have sacrificed a whole lot, and we are not seeing that desired result. So I think that there's a lot that technology does. Let us see, the chief of defense staff recently said that we have the capacity to fence our borders.
Our borders.
Yes.
So I was going to that. That was going to be my next question.
Yes. So
you talked about technology in the opposite. Do you think that that is also a required strategy?
It depends on how he is looking at it. I think that conversation should be open to be able to convince Nigerians, right, that if we go this way. He gave instances of countries that also fence their borders. If they are yielding results as a result of the fencing of their borders, we can apply that here. And I don't think it will just go just by mere fencing. They should have some technology that will be involved in it, right, to see that when these intruders come into this country, then we should be able to identify them, or we should be able to be at alert, notice that these guys are coming in, because we cannot continue to have a situation where foreigners come collaborate with our domestic criminals here and inflict pains on the citizens of the country.
Now, the big question, especially with the spate of recurring attacks across Nigeria, it's now more like every region has a manifestation of insecurity, is the fact that arrests are underreported or not even made. Talk more or less of prosecution.
Yes.
But yet we find figures being churned out by the defense headquarters as to how many terrorists have been eliminated in the last 4 years.
Exactly. And I was on a rise, and a question was asked that the way the defense headquarters churn out figures of numbers of terrorists arrested, numbers eliminated, and all that. And they asked me if the terrorists are reincarnating. Right. It was funny, but this morning I was watching on TV about 1,191 terrorists were arrested. So why are we having that magnifying figure? Where I know there are triggers that causes or that leads to that: poverty, unemployment, ignorance, lack of education, and all that. They lure these youths, with some amount of money, induce them to come join their fold, right? Because they need to fend for themselves. Most of them can't afford the basic survival needs, right? So the recruitment process of this militants or whatever you call them, it's on the rise, right? They capitalize on the vulnerability of these youths that are out there. They can't feed, they can't take care of their health, they don't have shelter and all that, and they lure them into their fold. Now the government is aware that this is a process, this is a way they bring them in, right? At the end of the day, when they come out as a result of the firepower that the military gives to them in the forest, they come surrender, the government will embrace them, take them to that program called Operation Safe Corridor. At the end of the day, 6 months, 7 months, you say they have repented and they should go back and reintegrate into society. How can it work like that? It can't work. The people that are recruiting them know that highest, if they come out to say they are surrendered, but most times the surrendering itself is not even a willing thing. It's out of, just the way I said, the firepower, right? At the end of the day, there are no punishment. You just go tell them that you have repented. You go through the process. Either they categorize you as a non-associate member, or a low-risk member, or a high-risk member of Boko Haram. How do you now assess that the guy that you are categorizing as a low-risk member is actually a low-risk member? Because you base your judgment based on what the person tells you. It's just like if I'm not feeling too well and I go to the hospital to see a doctor. It is what I tell the doctor that the doctor will work with. So if officers or psychologists are seated somewhere and Boko Haram repentant members come and they said, I was conscripted or I was coerced to become a member of Boko Haram. That is what you take. You now begin to categorize. Meanwhile, the person is a high-risk member, a commander within the sect, right? So, for me, while we are seeing increment or increase in the activities of Boko Haram in the northeast, it is because when they arrest them or when they come out to say that they have repented or they have surrendered, they go through a process which is not correct. They should be punished.
Now, what punishments do you subscribe?
It is contained in our Terrorism Prohibition and Prevention Act. It's contained there. One of the sections of that Prohibition Act says that if you sit in a meeting, 2 or 3 of you or 5, sit and discuss issues bordering on terrorism, not carrying out the act, just mere discussion, and it's established that you guys met, had such a meeting or a conversation, it is 20 years minimum in prison. So when such an individual actually carries out that act, you should know that the punishment will be more than 20 years, either death or life in prison or something. We are not saying that.
Regardless of if they were conscripted or not.
Yes. Provided it's established that you committed acts of terrorism, ignorance of the law is not an excuse, right? So if it's established that you actually, and it's proven beyond reasonable doubt in the court of law, you serve the punishment. So when 700 of them have repented and you allow them to go, then what is the law meant for? Why do we have our courts? The courts are idle when it has to do with issues bordering on terrorism, because the government don't take offenders of terrorism to the court. We can't work like that.
Now, a lot of infrastructure and a lot of funds have been voted into the counter-terrorism center we have in Nigeria. I recall as far back as 2 years ago, there was a large engagement across the West African bloc. Would you say that that engagement has not yielded part of the results that we desire to see in our anti-terrorism approach?
No. It hasn't yielded any result. Because if it has yielded result, we won't be talking about what we're talking now. Right? The military are going through a whole lot in trying to see how to address these issues. And you know, terrorists, they are very subtle and nimble. You won't even be able to identify them. So you need specialized training to be able to identify them. And the military are going through all that process to be able to identify these bad guys, right? And we spend a whole lot of money training them to be able to identify terrorists. At the end of the day, some group of persons will come and say they have come to surrender, and you go spend government funds on them by rehabilitating them. At the end of the day, rather than serving punishment, you say they should go back to their society. And there's this community resistance. The community said, no, you cannot come kill our people, destroy our communities, our livelihoods. At the end of the day, you said you have repented and you want to come back to the society where you have destroyed. It can't work like that. Now, where is the place of justice when we're talking about victims now?
Now, the president had made a similar reference in terms of learning to live with your neighbors when he addressed the people of Benue upon his condolence visit.
Yes.
It's been much of a debate. Some of the approaches that are obtainable in the northeast, where some communities are still under siege, they need to pay ransom to access their farms. Other videos have gone viral showing engagements between town hall meetings, community leaders and the said bandits on ways to live in peace. What do you make of this narrative of learning to live with your neighbors?
Learning to live with your neighbors, I think that statement has to do with headers. You know, headers, he was looking at the
headers farmers conflict.
Yes, that's where he was looking at it from. Not you cannot learn to live with bandits.
But we see some of that in the northeast.
Yes, and that is where we are missing the point. These guys are criminals. We should stop giving them names. The previous government that named this group of criminals bandits. What's that? They are criminals. We should treat them as criminals, right? Now,
and hence no need for such town hall meetings at all.
No. There's need for town hall meetings.
But should they be invited, knowing that they're criminals, to this town hall meetings?
The people that they invite are supposed
mediators,
leaders, right? But the issue of Benue, it didn't have anything to do with farmers' headers. For me, I've carried out research on that. It was an act of pure terrorism. You come to a community that there was no war. You just come, kill over 200. You came with fuel, matches, all different types of arms and ammunition, cutlasses and all that. They set houses ablaze. As you try to come out, they either shoot or they use the axe or the cutlass on you. What kind of dastardly act was that? So it was an act of terrorism. It wasn't a headers issue at all. right? And for me, I've been able to establish that. And the government need to see how to, the government, imagine after 1 week or so, the president was there, and he gave, he was asking the IGP and the chief of defense staff, why hasn't arrest been made? 2 days after, we started watching on TV that about 23 persons have been arrested. And you expect me to be pleased without such news?
You feel that report was playing to the gallery?
What kind of arrest was that? What kind of arrest? Until the president made that pronouncement, then 2 days after you are coming up to say some people have been arrested? Must the president give such directive or ask such questions? When you are there, you are saddled with the responsibility to see that that kind of act was even prevented or avoidable, not for that kind of thing to happen. So why would the president make that kind of ask that kind of question? Then shortly after, we started seeing arrest. I wasn't pleased. Over 200 persons killed, and you are telling us that 23 people have been arrested. For as far as I'm concerned, they are alleged suspects. You haven't proved that they were actual people that carried out that act, right? So we need to be. You see, a whole lot is not working, and we need to see that these things work. Some persons are there; they are saddled the responsibility of seeing that Nigerians are safe. The state is secured.
Doctor, on this comment of some persons saddled with,
yes.
let me go straight to the point, because people have been critical of the current service chiefs.
Yes.
They've been 2 years in office, and with the efforts at ensuring that we have a better security presence in the country, do you see reasons why the president might contemplate a rejig of his service chiefs?
You see, when you make an appointment, or when you make appointments, I expect that there should be KPIs that will be set out, right? And at the end of each period, perhaps 6 months, 1 year, you assess them. Have you been able to live to the expectation of your government? As I speak to you, we have about 50 ministers in this cabinet. 50. No one of the ministers has a security, safety background. And we are confronted with issues of insecurity. Bandits kill, collect ransom. Terrorists kill, collect ransom. Kidnappers kill, collect ransom.
Would this include the Minister of Defense as well?
I said 50 of them.
That's what I'm saying. Would this include the Minister of Defense as
well? Does the Minister of Defense has a security background? He doesn't have. How can you have 50 ministers in your cabinet and no one has security background? And yet we are confronted with issues of border and insecurity. Every day these issues happen. A couple of days ago, 17 soldiers were killed in Niger. And what we hear from government is condolence messages. Perpetrators will be brought to book. I don't even know the kind of book that they are talking about. Victims are there, languishing in pains. We have IDP camps increasing.
Now, how do we get this right? Because most of the times, appointments, particularly even those that include ministerial appointments, are based on party affiliations. I know it's been a long conversation on the table on how we get to having technocrats take up these positions, or meritocracy in terms of merit.
Yes.
Do you see a Nigeria where we can rewrite this narrative?
Absolutely. We can turn things around. You see, these issues are surmountable if we are ready to do the right thing and we have the political will. I'm a security consultant here. If I'm appointed minister, why wouldn't they give me the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice? It clearly shows I can't function there. I'm not a lawyer. So you don't see other security ministries and you feel that you want to politicize it. You cannot have Minister of Defense, Minister of State Defense, both. No security background. You have a Minister of Interior that has to do with police. We're talking about policing here. It has to do with, he's an accountant. And his junior minister also, what I don't know. Then you have the Minister of Interior. You see, Minister of Interior is not about, what do you call them? Passport alone.
Immigration service.
It's not about passport alone. It's not about passport alone. There are a whole lot. You have other paramilitary security under the interior. So just imagine 50 ministers, no one with security background, and you have the National Assembly there that is saddled with the constitutional responsibility to oversight these security agencies. You have committee.
Even starting with the screening of nominees sent in.
Exactly.
But it's been usually the tradition of take a bow and go.
Why should it be like that? We have seen ministers took bow and they are facing corruption corrupt charges in the court. Hadi Sirika, the Minister of Aviation and all that, was a former senator. He took a bow and left. And look at his act of corruption. He cannot even defend himself in court. So we need to sit down as a government to be able to do the right thing. Are we ready to do the right thing? It's not everything you just, even if you are a former senator, a former House of Reps, and you are appointed or nominated as a minister, you come, they ask you critical questions. It's not coming to take a bow. That is not, it doesn't make you have integrity. It's not because you went to the Senate, does that mean that you have integrity? The National Assembly, we have Committee on Defense, Navy, and the other, Army and the other. All of them are politicians. I won't blame them for that, because you don't expect that you should see retired military or police and all that as senators. So they must fill that vacuum, right? So politicians, all of them. But how well are they even carrying out these oversight functions? It's not for them to just appropriate these funds. We have 4.91 trillion in this 2025 budget. They should be able to ask questions, right? The essence of oversight is to see how to expose corruption, inefficiency, because what we are seeing, there's some sort of inefficiency in what we are seeing. If they ask questions, dig deep, the responsibility of security is not for the president or the executive alone. They also have roles and responsibility to play. It's not for them just appropriate these funds. The AFCC need to do a lot, because we see them, they are very wealthy people in service. Meanwhile, outside the shores of this country, you make wealth or you make money when you retire. You come as a military contractor or a consultant. But here, they are very wealthy while in service. Where are they getting the funds from? So we need to ask questions. We shouldn't go with that narrative that because they are, I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Army Resource Center. I know what they are doing. They are doing very well. The military are doing very well. But we need to ask questions. Where are you people missing it? The funds for this, are you people truly using it?
Now, talking about the involvement of politicians, quite interestingly, I was listening to the former Rivers State Governor, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, who is part of the ongoing coalition. He was talking about how to detect the level of security in the state, referencing his time as governor of Rivers, that it would be reflective in the rise in the spate of kidnappings. And as a state governor at the time, what he would do to solve the issue is to ensure that contractors are paid, because the chain of money flow would ensure that there would be money in the economy. Contractors get paid, they go to the markets, they shop, people pay their staff, and the more money people have in circulation would reduce crime rates, particularly speaking to the correlationship between crime waves and poverty levels. From that angle and the involvement of politicians and stakeholders, is this an explorable way of bringing down the level of insecurity in the country?
You see, unfortunately for us as a country, the crime that is confronting us today is caused by these politicians, whether we like it or not. Banditry, terrorism, the spike of kidnapping for ransom, all started in this Fourth Republic. How were the military addressing these issues before 1999? But right now, look at us, confronted with this. The first 10 countries in Africa as peaceful countries, the first 10 peaceful countries in Africa, Nigeria is not there. If you look at the Global Terrorism Index of 2024, Nigeria is ranked number 8. And if you look at the Global Peace Index of 2024, Nigeria is ranked 148 as a country that is not experiencing peace. So when you begin to look at it, you are looking at the issues. There's killing here, there's IDP camp here, there's this there and all that. And at the end of the day, you think the institute that carried out that survey, you think that they don't know what they are doing. They know what they are doing. And that's, for me, that's the data about this country. We must have to agree that these are the issues. I've talked about political patronage when it has to do with appointments. I've talked about the faith that such a person belongs to. Whether he's a Muslim or he's a Christian, he looked at ethnicity, where he's from, which language does he speak. You can't function when you govern a state like that. Where is merit? We have a whole lot of people outside there that are qualified to do this job. I did my PhD thesis on kidnapping for ransom. I interacted with kidnappers as well as victims. I was on a radio program where I talked about my interaction with kidnappers and victims. It was a phone-in program. A caller called and said, "Doctor, in all of this that you have said, have you tried to see how to get to the Office of the National Security Advisor in terms of sharing some information?" I laughed. I did a letter to the National Office of the National Security Advisor twice, thinking that, okay, they will invite me, come, let's have a conversation, the information that you have. One of the findings that I did is that around here, Kaduna, Niger, Kogi, Abuja area, if they kidnap you and they take you into the forest and you are released and ransom is paid, when you are leaving the place, as in finding your way back to the way you can begin, you won't wear your shoe or slippers or whatever, because if they will tell you to hold it,
you leave traces.
They will tell you to hold it. That's a sign that if there are other colleagues that are also kidnappers hibernating in the forest, if they see you, it's an identification that you've been kidnapped and ransom paid. So they won't kidnap you again. But when they see you with shoe or slippers on, it means that they can take you. I have a lot of information, but are they even interested in even trying to see that the risk that some of us have taken in trying to see that some of these issues bordering on insecurity are addressed? Most of them haven't taken it.
And my next question is on motive. Following your interactions with the kidnappers, what's usually the common motive?
Now, the economic payoff. That's it. The economic payoff. They blamed the government, that the government is not doing anything for them and all that. I won't tell you their ethnicity or their, they just told me that the government is not doing anything for them and all that. And from my findings, most of them are sponsored.
Sponsored by who?
I don't know. They are hanging out there. They look like you and I. They sponsor them because the categories of boys I saw won't be asking for that kind of amount of money as ransom.
Do you feel like they remit a portion of the ransom they collect?
Who directs the ransom bearer? Somebody directs the ransom bearer to get to a location and a point. And when they direct the ransom bearer, somebody is at the point that collects. I've seen where a victim told me that they directed the ransom bearer to Kefi, from Kefi to Kachia, from Kachia finally to Zaria, and the ransom was paid in Zaria, 10 million naira. When he was released in Niger. They took him all the way to Niger on a bike. He didn't know. So we have issues like that. And there are information. Even we see when the Chief of Army Staff was going to Makurdi, when he was relocating to Makurdi, or when he relocated to Makurdi, I was interviewed. I said, yes, it's a good strategy. Right? Why? Because he will motivate the troops. Our boss himself is here.
But doctor, is he still there on relocation?
No. He left after some days or so. Now, why I didn't? My thesis was on. My PhD is in security and strategic studies. I said it was a good strategy, but it wasn't strategic. The interviewer got confused. I said it's good strategy, but it wasn't strategic. I said yes. He said why? I said because of the publicity.
So you feel that was just pure optics?
Why will you be embarking on the military operations and you expect that as a military officer it shouldn't be clandestine? Why was it on the media? And you expect these criminals to wait for you? They won't wait. A victim that I interviewed told me that when they heard him in the forest in Kaduna, the bandits had radio. So they listened to news. You have announced your relocation and they heard you in the forest, and you expect them to come out of the forest, they will hide more. And the moment you leave, they will come back. The Chief of Army Staff left Makurdi. Some couple of days after, 200 persons were killed. So I don't need to come and spoon feed you that this is the way you need to go, because I want to believe that they've gone through some professional trainings. It's not everything that you say it on the media.
Now,
Let us hear the success story, but not your strategy. When these guys go about their own acts of criminality, did they come to
publish it?
They don't publish it.
Now, Doctor, earlier on you had talked about your interaction with the kidnappers, and you said you want to refrain from naming their ethnicity.
Yes.
But usually when this conversation is had in the media space, they are given an ethnic coloration.
Yes.
Over time, this has formed the debates on some level of would I call it victimization of certain ethnic groups based on the perceived, would I call it attachment to such
Stereotyping,
negative,
or something?
yes, stereotypical categorization of this ethnic groups as terrorists. How much of a damage has that done, and can it be refixed in some way?
Yes. It has done a lot of damage. I give you a story. There was this period about 8 years ago. A community in Benue, Ado local government in Benue, about 8 of them were killed. And the story that went around was that Fulanis were the people that came to kill them. At the end of the day, I did my findings. It wasn't Fulanis. So just imagine an innocent Fulani man riding on his bike, passing that community. What will befall that Fulani person? Because the people within that community, they've already gotten information that it was Fulanis. So they will definitely attack that innocent Fulani man going on his own way. So it has caused a lot of damage. But the image can be, it's not completely battered, it can be fixed, right? In every tribe in this country, there are bad people. There are bad people. Name it, they are bad people. Criminals come from different tribes. So we shouldn't be painting one particular tribe or ethnic group that they are the ones doing this, doing that, doing that. Yeah, even if they are the ones doing it, they also do it in collaboration with the other tribes. So all these people are criminals, as far as I'm concerned, and they should be treated as criminals when arrested. And the process of court, I saw that the Senate screened some members of the Law Reform Commission or something. Our laws are obsolete. They are archaic. When it has to do with somebody commits crime now, a heinous crime, the fine is 2,000 naira. We should improve on all this. Times have changed. Times have really changed. And the process of prosecution, the wheel is so slow. Look at this guy that dismembered that young lady in Nasarawa State. Yes. The judgment has been passed, which is supposed to be like that. 1 month, 2 months. What are you waiting for? He took what's his name, Evans, the kidnapper, the billionaire kidnapper in Lagos. 7 years. We can't function like that. There's no deterrent when we function like that. We need to change the narrative.
Judgment has been passed, but assent hasn't been given to by the governor for the state of execution.
For Nasarawa?
Nasarawa.
Yes. This judgment was just last week. If the guy doesn't appeal, right, they will take the notice to the governor.
But in Nasarawa, I did my findings as well. There's not been any precedence of any of such executions as assented to by a governor in Nasarawa. Do you think that the current governor, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, would have the political will to assent to the execution of the singer?
Does he need the political will to do this?
But there's been no precedence.
Yeah, but it must start from somewhere. We're talking about a girl dismembered in that manner.
An ex-corps member who had been done with her education,
exactly,
ready to enter the labor market. So much prospects.
He should be aware that the families of that girl are waiting for justice to be served. Right. And the way they can get justice is to see that the governor has sent to that sentence by hanging. There's no two ways about it. The judge has done his own and according to law. So the governor wants to become emotional about such barbaric act. You can't be emotional about it. You want to come and forgive, or you want the person to remain in jail.
Usually we see a tradition where executives do not really assent to that, especially when they're vying for a second term in office.
What does that got to do with his aspiration?
People talk about it being in some way coloring the executive as one that has attempted to an execution, particularly along these lines of religion and ethnicity?
No. It's not outside the law. The governor is your duty is to see that you are sent to it. The judge has done his bit, to the best of his knowledge, that beyond reasonable doubt that the guy actually committed the act. So why would he not be sympathetic to the criminal?
But Doctor, our law even has a coloration of north and south in terms of capital punishment.
Yes, I agree.
And this has over time also, more or less, would I say, in my view, affected how judgments are meted out to serve as deterrents.
Exactly. And that's why I said we need to improve on our laws. I've said it. We have obsolete laws that are not in tune with our current reality. So we need to see, the commission needs to see how to improve on that. It's just for them to put a team of lawyers together. Look at our laws. What do we need to update? What do we need to upgrade? What do we need to take out? Right? Because we can't continue like this. Some laws of over 50 years, they are still there, and you want to apply them. It's not doable now. And I don't think it's doable. So let us see that there are things that are lacking that we have left behind. Let us see how to go back and improve on them to meet our current 21st century realities.
Now, this brings us to the issue of intelligence sharing.
Yes.
Now, when issues like this happen, the first point of call is the fact that community engagement and stakeholders need to actively play a role in seeing and saying something. But over time, the challenge with that is, even when it comes to emergency response time from security apparatus is usually delayed to respond to these issues that are raised. How do we bridge this gap and improve on intelligence sharing?
Simple. It is very simple. Crime is local. And for us to address it, we must go local. I have done 1 or 2, 3 papers on how to address crime locally. One is vigilantism, a panacea for effective community policing and enhancing security in rural communities. It's online. You can check it out. Then the last assembly under former speaker Bajabi Ambila, they did a summit on a national security summit to see how to help the government of President Buhari then address some of these insecurity issues in the country. And I did a memorandum to that. They published different topics that concerned citizens and consultants can write on. And I did my own on local and community security solutions. Because I know that, and from my research, I know that the gap is that we don't have security presence in our rural communities. And how do we now address that? We should stop this top to bottom approach when we're talking about combating or addressing insecurity. When I mean top to bottom now, when these attacks happen in our communities, it's from the top they deploy soldiers, they deploy police. At the end of the day, after 1 week or 2 weeks, they are withdrawn. Go to that Yelwata community now, you won't see police, you won't see any soldier. They've been withdrawn. The people are there. How do we now stop that top to bottom approach? Let us begin to see how to address it from bottom to top, because crime is local. How do we now address it? One of the things that Tinubu has done that I appreciate him is that approval for the establishment of forest guards. Because these criminals use our forests and our rural communities as hideouts, as safe haven, where they hibernate, come out, carry out these acts of criminality, retreat, regroup and come back and strike again. So if you have forest guards, right, the forest guards now are people from within their communities, right? And that is why each time I find myself in a forum like this, I ask that, Mr. President, there's a bill before him establishing the Nigerian Forest Security Service, which has the mandate, the capacity to be able to help in addressing these insecurity issues locally.
But don't we have a National Forest Guard Commission already?
Commission? I'm not aware of it. National Forest Guards Commission. I'm not aware of it. But this Nigerian forest...
Because I saw a circular saying that the president had approved arming them, forest guards, to guard...
No. The president only approved the establishment. Yes. We don't have a commission on it. So what I'm saying is that we already have a structure such as the one that the president has approved for its establishment, which is the Nigerian Forest Security Service.
Security Service.
Yes. They have they have manpower of over 80,000 as I speak to you across Nigeria. So rather than going for a new idea to see how to conceive a new idea, we have an already existing structure that the president can adopt. Just the way former President Obasanjo adopted the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps that we have, that is protecting our critical infrastructures today. So the president can as well adopt the Nigerian Forest Security Service that is already on ground, right? And institutionalize them, integrate them into the security architecture of the country. And because they will be the first line responders, right, in these our very rural communities and forests, they should be more armed than even the police. Because the position that they will take is that they will be even confronting these criminals even before the police comes. So we don't have effective community policing because we don't have a local structure that should be saddled with such responsibility to be able to generate or provide local intelligence for the police and the military to work with. I watched General Rogers, retired, the former commander of Operation Lafia Dole, during the Plateau killings. He said the military needs local intelligence. How would they not have local intelligence?
Without this first line.
Yes. So when we have such organization, the Nigerian Forest Security Service, as providers of local intelligence, it is the duty of the, what do you call them now, the DSS, because their own intelligence is to provide theirs domestically, as in domestic intelligence, which is local. NIA should provide or provides international intelligence. How well is the DSS providing this local intelligence? They are more interested in a VIP protection. So we should have a structure. It is not by establishing geopolitical zones development commission, North Central Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, South. You are establishing all these development commission. When there is no security in place, how will development take place?
Now, lastly, before we conclude, because we have less than 5 minutes, the Senate is beginning public hearing on constitution reviews in Lagos. One of the items on the agenda, as informed to the media by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, is the issue of state policing and the creation of more local government areas. Where does this place the conversation in terms of more lines of intelligence and approaches to community policing?
The way Nigeria is now, I don't think it will be out of place for us to have more security organizations on ground. Because we're not, even the conventional ones that we have, we're not even getting the desired result. Right? In the US, when Osama bin Laden struck in 2001, there was nothing like the Department of Homeland Security. It was after that attack. Why didn't, what's his name, George Bush Jr. say, no, we have a secret service, we have a FBI, we have CIA, we have the National Guard, so therefore there's no need for the Department of Homeland. But you know, in 1 year, when he submitted a bill to establish that to the Assembly, to the Congress, in 1 year, they established the Department of Homeland Security, and they are doing the job very well. So if we see that we are missing or lacking in this, there's nothing wrong with coming up. Your duty is this. Your mandate is this. Clear. You don't have any business to come to the urban centers. Remain in the rural communities. What's his name? Senator Lalong, during the Plateau attack, he was angry at the military that they gave excuse that because of proximity to where these attacks were happening, they didn't have no roads to get to this place. But when you hire the services or have Nigerian Forest Security Service on board and they are armed and they are in these communities, when the military cannot go or the police cannot go because of lack of access road, these people are already in that community. So when these attacks happen and you are waiting for like 2, 3, 4 hours for the military to come or the police to come, they're already there confronting these people. And it's because people are not confronted. The criminals come, strike, take the whole time, finish whatever they are doing, they go, nobody kills them, nobody confronts them, nobody arrests them, and you expect them not to come back tomorrow? They will come back.
Doctor, we're closing in a bit.
Yes.
In conclusion, there's been debates on the proliferations of small arms and light weapons. I know in the Senate there have been certain prayers that Nigerians be given the right to take up arms in defense of themselves. Where does this place us in terms of being able to defend ourselves as individuals?
Now, you know, to acquire an arm is not easy. The money is not small. So you don't expect every Nigerian to own an arm, right? And we're already being confronted with this proliferation of small arms and light weapons. As I speak to you, we have well over 6 million arms in circulation in this country, in the hands of not these bad guys. And these 6 million arms that we have in circulation, the ones that are constitutionally mandated to bear these arms, which is the police, the army, and all that. Do you know the number? 561,000.
As against 6 million.
Against 6 million. So the others are in the hands of bad guys. 561,000. It's not if you have 20,000 police, you don't expect all the 20,000 to bear arms.
That's true.
Yes. So we have 561,000 as at the last time. Right. So, and we have the Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons in the Office of the National Security Advisor. How well is that center? How well is it working? I am aware that they have zonal offices. How many of these arms have they been able to recover from the hands of these criminal elements? So we have, the tax is enormous. It is not time for us to begin to play around it. Let us be serious and take up this challenge. This, just the way I said, the issues are surmountable. There were countries that were confronted with what we are being confronted with today, and they were able to manage their insecurity issues. Ghana is here. As Ghana, as close as Ghana is relatively peaceful. We should stop politicizing
issues of insecurity.
That's
a fine place to leave it. Doctor, I must thank you for your objectivity on the subject of discourse this morning.
Thank you.